Last time on Earwitness.
Sergeant Tony Richardson, Jefferson County Sheriff's Office. I'm at the Sheriff's Office headquarters along with Yolanda Michelle Chambers.
Yolanda was reluctant. She didn't want to talk.
Okay, now you mentioned to me that you heard what you thought was 3 shots.
But when we heard that, we were like, we didn't know what it was.
We had to keep at her. We had to pull, like pulling teeth.
Carlos jumped in the car and said, man, come on, let's go.
You know, Yolanda, we need this, and sometimes we'd have to be stern, and firm, trying to shake her,
Did he have anything on his hand that you told me about?
Blood.
Sometimes we'd have to be soft.
What you have already told me during the times that I have interviewed you, is that the truth?
Whatever will work to get this information out of her.
No.
It's not the truth?
No.
So what she's saying, she was there and I was there? That's a lie. That's a shame.
Did I believe everything Yolanda told me? No. Hell no. Hell no. But Yolanda told a lot of truth while she was trying to hide it by telling lies.
What did it say again?
Area of Bora Ave and Oak Street up a dirt road toward the beginning of the power lines.
My producer Mara and I are in Bessemer, a suburb west of Birmingham. This back road is remote. No houses or businesses nearby, just undeveloped land stretching under a bright blue sky.
I bet it was this.
There's a dirt path underneath a stretch of power lines that cuts through dense, overgrown shrubbery.
I wonder how far down the dirt road she was.
Yeah. Wow, it's kind of pretty back here, actually.
Yeah. There's nothing remarkable about this spot. It's a place you'd drive past and not even notice. But this is where, on Valentine's Day of 2009, some people riding four-wheelers found the body of Yolanda Chambers. I'm still not really sure why I wanted to come here or what I was hoping to learn. I just felt like I needed to see it. There are no clues here about what happened to Yolanda Chambers, why she was killed, or who did it. After the investigation into Deputy Bill Hardy's murder ended, Yolanda would continue to work with police as an informant, and that ongoing contact with law enforcement may have contributed to her murder. I'm Beth Shelburne. This is Earwitness, Chapter 3, Police Girl.
I'd like to talk about Yolanda.
Okay. I've talked to Detective Tony Richardson for over 7 hours about this case, and he uses a certain adjective to describe Yolanda Chambers over and over again.
She was street smart. You remember I said Yolanda was very streetwise. Streetwise, I'm telling you, if you ever met her, 15 years old, she knew more about the street than I did.
The dictionary definition of street smart or streetwise is a shrewd awareness of how to survive based on living a difficult life. But Yolanda was just 15 years old. Detective Tony Richardson questioned Yolanda at least 25 times when he led the investigation into Deputy Hardy's murder. Most key witnesses in murder investigations are questioned a few times, but 25? That many police interviews is almost unheard of. And throughout these interviews, Yolanda changed her story about the night of the murder hundreds of times. Research shows that child witnesses are more easily influenced by police intimidation than adults. And children entangled in criminal cases also face more adverse psychological consequences. But knowing all this, I still wondered what exactly was going on that made Yolanda change her story so many times. Do you get nervous, like knocking on somebody's door unannounced?
I think so, yeah. Just because I don't want it to, like, freak people out.
I know.
And I know that I would feel weird if somebody I didn't know.
Mara and I went on a drive, searching for the one person we knew of who could give us a fuller picture of Yolanda Chambers' life. Someone who has never spoken publicly about this case. The person who got Yolanda involved with police in the first place.
Hey, we're looking for Miss Rosa Hardy.
Her mom.
Can we talk to you for just a second? My name is Beth. I'm a journalist, and this is Mara, and we're working on a project about Deputy Bill Hardy, and we're hoping to talk to you.
We pull up to a low-rise apartment complex in Huntsville, 2 hours north of Birmingham. Outside the first-floor apartment, we see big pots of aloe vera plants and leafy elephant ears. The front door is open, and through the screen door, we see a woman wearing a blue dress sitting on an overstuffed leather couch, almost like she's waiting for us to arrive.
Hey.
I didn't know what was going on.
I'm sorry to just show up unannounced, but we didn't have a number for you.
I understand, because when that happened, I was living in Birmingham, and since then I lived in Cincinnati. But forgive me, you're welcome to come in.
Rosa lets us into her tidy apartment. There's a painted wooden sign on the wall that says, "There is always, always, always something to be thankful for." And a paper program from Yolanda's funeral sits on the coffee table next to framed family photos. Well, I appreciate you letting us in, just us showing up unannounced, but we're, like I said, working on a project about Deputy Bill Hardy's murder. And so we were just reaching out to people that knew him. And wondered, if you could share anything about him that you knew, y'all's relationship.
Well, I met him through his wife, Diane.
Even though Rosa and Deputy Bill Hardy share a last name, they aren't related. Patricia Diane Hardy is Bill Hardy's widow. Rosa sometimes refers to her as Pat, but mostly calls her Diane.
Diane and all of us, we grew up together in Selma because her mom used to do our hair. My mother had 3 girls and 3 boys, and her mother, Miss Bailey, she did our hair every 2 weeks. So we were friends.
Rosa and Patricia both eventually move to Birmingham, where Patricia marries Bill Hardy, and they all remain close friends.
Diane and I talked all the time on the phone. But after that happened and Yolanda was involved, she kind of shied away from me. I don't know why,
And then how did your daughter get wrapped up in the case?
Let me tell you what happened. I got to tell you everything because I'm not a liar, so I got to tell you the truth.
Rosa begins by going way back to the first time she and Yolanda were separated, when Rosa was arrested and charged with drug possession.
And I ended up catching a case going to Tutwiler.
Julia Tutwiler Prison for Women is the only maximum security women's prison in Alabama. Rosa pleaded guilty and was sent there for 3 years. During this time, 8-year-old Yolanda went to live with Rosa's mother in Selma. When Rosa was released in 1991, Yolanda told her that she'd been sexually abused by a neighbor.
She said this guy there used to molest her. My mom would have him to come over and help her with her homework, and he molested her. So when I got back, mentally, she was all messed up.
Yolanda was 12 years old.
And it was a rock between a hard place because my mother said it didn't happen, but I told my mother these exact words. I said I wasn't there to protect my daughter. And if she told me something happened to her, I believe it. But then after that, she would run away from me a lot. After I came home from prison, she would run away. And I ended up letting the state get her because I was nervous about it. And she ended up in foster care. And when she would go to foster care, she would run away.
When she's 14 years old, Yolanda is hospitalized after attempting suicide and receives a few months of counseling. And then, the next year, when she's 15 years old, Yolanda officially becomes a ward of the state, living full-time in foster care and group homes. The state is supposed to be in charge of her care, but according to an assessment ordered by a county social worker, they don't know where she is for several months that summer. On the night of Hardy's murder, Yolanda is staying with a friend at the apartment where TeForest Johnson and Ardregas Ford pick her up around 2 a.m. A few hours later, police stop them at the Super 8 motel and tell them they're looking into the murder of a police officer.
So when I talked to her the next day, I was employed at Adamson Ford. I was the receptionist there.
When Rosa gets to work that day, she reads in the newspaper that their family friend, Deputy Bill Hardy, has been shot and killed. A little while later, she gets a call from Yolanda.
I said, last night someone killed Bill over at the hotel because he was moonlighting over there. And these were her exact words. She said, Mommy, I know who did it. I said, you do?
Rosa says Yolanda didn't give her names, but after the call, Rosa tells a police officer that her daughter has information about the murder.
Because I just felt like I owed that to Pat. Like I said, we were good friends. We weren't strangers, and we had grew up together in Selma. And I just felt like, I was supposed to let somebody know.
Sometime after talking with police, Rosa hires an attorney to pursue the $20,000 in reward money. Was she ever compensated for giving?
No. And I thought that after I had told them, because they did say, there was some compensation, they never did give me nothing.
Law enforcement rewards are set up to entice people in tough financial situations, people like Rosa and Yolanda. Police say rewards are necessary to penetrate the culture of silence in communities impacted by crime. But they can also be a means to manipulate, because it's up to police to decide whether the information is valuable enough to merit the reward. That means detectives can dangle the money while they work with witnesses, but then choose to never pay it. To state the obvious, Yolanda is extremely vulnerable when detectives first bring her in for questioning. In a clinical analysis she underwent that year, a psychologist wrote that Yolanda was friendly and outgoing, but could also be verbally aggressive and manipulative. She also observed that Yolanda was attention-seeking, especially with men. For over a year, detectives questioned Yolanda at different foster homes and shelters, sometimes pulling her out of class, a pattern that frustrated Yolanda because she was trying to get her GED. It seems like police were really relentless with her,
They
too.
were. She would call me each time when she would be away. She said, "Mama, they coming again today." I said, "For what?" She said, "I don't know, Mama." Mm-hmm.
Do you think that they pressured her?
Sure they did. What you got for us? You got to tell us something. I remember saying that. Mm-hmm. She just told me, "Mama, you shouldn't have even said anything." Those were her words all the time.
Yolanda's statements about the night Deputy Hardy was murdered lead to 4 people charged with capital murder, including DeForest Johnson and Ardregas Ford. But because Yolanda keeps changing her story, in the fall of 1996, Ardregas Ford's attorney, Richard Jaffe, asks for a hearing. He wants to examine Yolanda's testimony and competency as a witness. The transcript from this hearing is extraordinary, so we asked actors to read for Judge Alfred Bayhackle and Yolanda Chambers. Richard Jaffe agreed to read his own words. The hearing begins. Yolanda takes the stand and is sworn in. Richard Jaffe starts by asking her why she keeps changing her story.
Were you there at the Crown Sterling?
No, sir.
You were not there?
No, sir.
What made you change your mind and lie and say you were there?
Because the pressure. They was telling me, don't you know you can go to jail for this? And that's all I was thinking. That's all I had on my mind. Jail. I don't want to go. And, they was just telling me, we know you was there, we can find out evidence that you was there, and just all the pressure they was putting on me. So after they was putting all the pressure on me, I went on and said I was there. I said maybe if I go on and say I was there, maybe all the threats and everything will end about me going to jail as a juvenile.
At this point in time, Yolanda has testified in front of the grand jury and at multiple pretrial hearings. She has also missed one important court date. Judge Bayhackle questions her directly.
At which hearing did you not show up at?
The one that they had last Monday, I don't know which.
Why didn't you show up?
Because I didn't want to get up there and lie.
Do you feel threatened by anyone? Has anyone threatened you so that you've gone into hiding?
I felt threatened by the police because they seemed like they was the ones that was against me.
Later, Jaffe questions her about what happened when detectives stopped the tape recorder during interviews.
After he, somebody put so much pressure on me, and then they get to saying, well, Yolanda, you was there because such and such said this, and this person was here, and I know you was with this person. I'm gonna quite naturally go on and say whatever the person wants me to say. Whether it's the truth or whether it's a lie, whatever the person wants me to say, I'm gonna go on and say it. And there was so much stress and pressure on me, and I couldn't have my mama around when they was questioning me or my attorney, so I just went with the flow. Whatever they wanted me to say, I would say it.
How do you feel about what you've done to Ardregas Ford and to Forrest Johnson?
I'm sorry for doing it, but I didn't know any better. And I feel like I was, even though I was lying, I feel like I was taken advantage of too. Because my own mother wasn't even there to be a comforter for me, because every time they came and got me, they wouldn't let my mom come in with me. I always had to go with them, like I was property of them.
At the hearing, Jaffe argues that Yolanda's testimony should have put an end to the state's case.
They should have dropped the case. They should have dropped the case at the point where she had already perjured herself at the preliminary hearing and at the grand jury. And now she's saying, I perjured myself. So how do you ethically, if you're a prosecutor, take a death penalty case, even a shoplifting case, to trial if all you've got is perjured testimony? How do you do that?
But after the hearing is over, Judge Alfred Bahakel makes his decision. He chooses not to accept Yolanda's recantation and denies the motion to dismiss the charges. The case moves forward as if this hearing never happened. More than 25 years after this hearing, Detective Tony Richardson and I discussed this moment when Yolanda said under oath that police pressured her to change her story.
The rule of an interrogation is you interrogate. And part of that interrogation is you lean on people. You put pressure on them. You want them to feel that pressure. You know, you don't threaten them or anything like that, but you want them to feel that pressure that you're leaning on them. And you want that pressure to, as the old saying goes, burst the pipe, so that they will start to overflowing and telling you.
Well, where does that leave the truth? I mean, she's clearly perjured herself somewhere because she's testified that she was there and witnessed the murder on multiple occasions, and then she testifies on the stand in court that she's made the whole thing up and she did it because of pressure and y'all have been coercing her.
If we had been coercing her and pressuring her, and I'm sure that happens or has happened in the past. Let's say that happened in the early 1800s, okay? Nobody in the modern age does that. Anyway, let's say that she was pressured and coerced. Did she tell things that she couldn't have known that unless she was there? Yes.
Like what?
Well, like for instance, the scenario about how it happened. The scenario about how the deputy came out of the back of the hotel. We know the deputy came out of the back of the hotel. We're not telling her this. She came in and told us.
But that was in the newspaper.
No, now.
It was in the newspaper. Hardy was killed at the back entrance of the hotel, and this was reported in the first article published the day of the murder. It was also on the news the morning of his death. A reporter gestures to the hotel's back door.
To work as hard as they can on this. We are at the back door of the Crown Sterling Suites where 49-year-old William Hardy was found shot twice in the head. Not much.
So what I'm saying is, here you have Yolanda Chambers, who, after all these years, from day one, has been called a liar. And I'll be the first to tell you she is, or she was. But as an investigator, you have to sort through this. You have to figure out what's the truth in this to help build a case.
Throughout my conversation with Rosa Hardy, she expresses regret about involving Yolanda in Deputy Hardy's murder investigation.
She resented the fact that I even mentioned it. So we didn't really communicate about it. But in the end, I felt so many times, even after she died, that, I just had a lot to do with how she ended up. I don't know if I did the right thing by speaking up. Looked like it just messed up our lives.
At 17, Yolanda got pregnant and gave birth to a baby girl. Rosa says the child's father was never part of their lives. Yolanda would go on to have a second child, a son, with another partner.
Such a beautiful picture of her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she was a really pretty girl.
She was. And she got mixed up in all kind of stuff, I tell you.
Rosa shows us pictures of Yolanda where she appears happy, smiling, holding her babies. In one photo, a large tattoo of a jaguar is visible on Yolanda's chest. Rosa tells us after she got Yolanda involved in this case, their relationship was never the same.
And she was very mean to me, called me a bitch in front of anybody. But we were not close at all.
According to Rosa, the baby boy's father wanted to marry Yolanda, but he wanted her to get sober first. By then, Yolanda had developed a debilitating dependence on heroin. To get by, Yolanda sometimes worked at a strip club in Birmingham's West End. She was also arrested several times for theft and writing bad checks. But she wasn't sent to rehab or sentenced to prison for these charges. Instead, Yolanda leveraged the one relationship where she felt she had some value: the police.
I might be talking too much, but I'm going to tell you this. I found out that she was snitching on drug dealers, and they were paying her, the FBI. They gave her money. They would come by the apartment and give her money. So eventually I ran across one that had come to the apartment one time, and I had told them that they needed to take care of my daughter, and they said that they would.
Rosa says that police were knowingly supporting Yolanda's addiction with no regard for her health or the incredible risks she was taking informing on drug dealers. My producer Mara spoke with Rosa over the phone about this.
Do you think they were trying to protect her in any kind of way, the police or the FBI?
No, they were not. Mm-hmm. No. Mm-mm. They didn't care. All they wanted was what they wanted.
So they just paid her and that was it?
They just paid her and that was that. And they told me there wasn't anything going to happen to her. Mm. And see, when she went missing, I called them and told them that she was missing, and they were very short with me and told me just like this, oh, she'll show up. She just don't want her binges. That was the reply.
Rosa connects us with an old friend of Yolanda's named Alicia.
Hey, how you doing?
Hi, good. How are you?
Who confirms that Yolanda worked as an informant. Yolanda would sometimes crash at Alicia's house before walking to the corner where officers would pick her up.
She got out and walked all the way down to the end of the corner. She was like, I'll be back.
Alicia tells us it wasn't a secret that Yolanda was informing.
Do you think a lot of people knew?
A lot of people know, yes. Yes. They always call her the police girl and don't talk to me.
Oh, really? Some people even called her police girl. But law enforcement gave Yolanda no protection, and she took no precautions.
Because, see, she was so into her bad habit. She didn't care who knew she was snitching on people, so the hit could have came from anywhere.
Yolanda's murder was part of a string of tragedies in Rosa's life. All 3 of her children died young. When Yolanda was 6 years old, her older sister, Sabrina, died from asthma complications. And a few years after Yolanda's death, her brother Darius was killed. Darius was openly gay, an activist in Chicago. He was waiting at a bus stop when a group of men approached him and beat him to death. Media reports stated the men wanted his cell phone, but Rosa still wonders if it was a hate crime.
It's devastating when you lose your kids, you know, but I have to push through it. You, me, we all are gonna die. What hurt is the way they left. I think about them. I miss them so much. Yeah. I do. I miss my kids.
The people who loved Yolanda hoped she could get help overcoming her addiction. Sometimes it seemed like Yolanda wanted that too.
She told me that she was sorry about the way she had talked to me and mistreated me, and then she got killed.
The autopsy report shows that when Yolanda was killed, she was wearing black corduroy pants, a black T-shirt under a black zip-up jacket, and gold slip-on flats. Her t-shirt had a heart and a peace sign on it. She had been shot 3 times in the head and once in the chest. A bullet had gone through her right hand as if she'd held it up to defend herself. She was 29 years old.
That she was a very troubled person. And demons had took over her. And don't think I'm crazy when I say this, because there are certain such things. Even when she died, you could see the demons in her casket. Mm-hmm. She was dead so bad. The girl in Selma that had her body, she said that she had been shot up with dope. She was hit straight through here with a bullet. And she begged me not to look at her. She said, please don't look at her. She said, remember her the way you knew her. But I just had to see her. And she opened her up and she let me look at her.
We wanted to know if Yolanda's murder was connected to her relationship with police. So we filed a Freedom of Information request with the FBI. Was she, in fact, working with them as a paid informant? As of this recording, the FBI has emailed us to say they have identified at least 50 pages of relevant documents, but our request to read them is in a long line of other requests. We won't be able to see the documents until 2025. So you don't know who killed your daughter?
No. I don't know who killed her. But she did call me and told me that if anything had ever happened to her, this guy had threatened her.
This guy was Yolanda's boyfriend. Both Rosa and Yolanda's friend Alicia believe he killed Yolanda and told me their relationship was volatile. I haven't found any other evidence connecting this person to Yolanda's murder, so I'm not going to name him here. But I look up his record and find that he pleaded guilty to drug trafficking and served time in federal prison. Alicia says when she found out that Yolanda had been murdered, she figured he'd finally learned Yolanda was informing on drug dealers. I also learn this person was killed in 2015, and I don't know if police ever connected him to Yolanda's murder. Rosa says after Yolanda's funeral, she had some contact with a detective in Bessemer about her daughter's murder, but she hasn't heard anything in years.
Your call has been forwarded to an automatic voice message system. At the tone, please record your message.
Hey, this message is for Lieutenant Clemens. My name is Beth Shelburne. I spend weeks trying to connect with Bessemer police to find out if there's anything going on with Yolanda's murder investigation. I leave messages, and finally, I get Lieutenant Christian Clemens on the phone. I tell him the same thing that I said in the messages, that I'm looking into Yolanda's murder. He says he'll call me back. But after 2 months, Mara and I decide to just go there in person. Lieutenant Clemens, here we come. I'm here to see Lieutenant Clemens.
What's your last name?
Shelburne. We wait in the busy lobby of the Bessemer Police Department until Lieutenant Clemens emerges from behind a heavy steel door. So we have both called you about this case that we were just trying to get an update on for this project that we're working on, Yolanda Michelle Chambers.
Tell me a little bit more about it, because I remember it being an older case. I haven't been able to do anything on it at all.
I feel like I'm stuck in a loop. I keep giving this guy the same information.
What we're talking about.
Yeah, like, we're just trying to figure out like why you haven't gotten back to us.
Oh, it's just.
He tells us that Yolanda's case is low on the totem pole of priorities.
That totem pole of importance, prioritization, it was kind of low.
Why was it low?
Today's victims are the ones we deal with most. You know, it's really just prioritization of cases. We have 5 detectives. We had 29 homicides last year. You do the math, that's 6 homicides a piece.
Even though Lieutenant Clemens is perfectly polite, it seems like he's not going to spend time on this case. But we give him the information we've learned about Yolanda's murder, including the name of the possible suspect. Maybe if any evidence from Yolanda's body was preserved, police could test it and match it against this possible suspect. He served time in federal prison, so his DNA would be on record. I ask if we can look at the investigative file, and he promises to get back to me. Okay, well, thank you for your time.
All right, you're welcome. Nice to meet you guys.
You too. A few hours later, Lieutenant Clemens calls and tells me that Yolanda's case is still open. He says he'll look into the evidence that's being held in a storage unit.
Sir, I appreciate it.
Yeah, just so you know, my next step is to go out to our storage building where all of our old records are kept, old cases, and look for the case file on this and kind of go through it again to see what was done, what needs to be done, and go from there.
So I wait to hear back from Lieutenant Clemens, but he never calls again. This feels like the system letting Yolanda Chambers down one final time.
So my name is Callie Greer.
For many years, Callie Greer faced the same struggles as Yolanda Chambers, like drug addiction and charged interactions with police. Callie is now an organizer and educator focused on advocating for poor people in Alabama. I asked her for some perspective on Yolanda's life, death, and her involvement with law enforcement.
They find these vulnerable people that are on drugs, poor, black, some of them white, street people, people that are on the street, unsheltered, unprotected, underserved, disposable, invisible people. When you're out there like that, you're used by the drug dealers, you're used by the men on the street, the Johns, you're used by the police officers, you're used by men that molest you and your family, you're used by your moms and your aunts' boyfriends. And so you're just used. Yeah, you're just used. And you have no sympathy, you have no worth, no morals, you have none of this stuff that makes you feel human.
Callie says that when officers give informants attention, call them by their given name, that's powerful for people who are otherwise ignored.
How somebody saw you, recognized you, they actually call my name. You know, because you have not been called that name. Your name. You've been called everything else but that. Crackhead, bitch, or prostitute, drug addict, convict, criminal, unfit mama. So I see that with her.
Callie holds compassion for Yolanda, a grace that didn't seem to be extended to her by law enforcement or the court system. Yolanda Chambers was most valuable to law enforcement when she was traumatized. I think this is something Detective Tony Richardson realizes too.
Yolanda Chambers was a 15-year-old child that I wish we would have handled at the time a little bit differently.
What do you wish you would have done differently with her?
Well, I wish we would have taken more time in this whole thing, the whole case. I wish we would have taken more time. I wish that I would have taken more time with Yolanda. I wish that I wouldn't have looked at her as a streetwise girl. And I think in looking at her as and she was streetwise, I treated her like she was older and streetwise, instead of treating her like she's 15, scared to death, don't know what to do, which way to go. And I did that because I've got a police officer that's been shot.
In the years following Hardy's murder, and for the rest of Yolanda's life, she didn't talk with her mom much about the case. But there was one thing Rosa says Yolanda told her consistently over the years.
And this is what she always said too. The one that did the time, he wasn't even the one that did it. Now she did tell me that. She said he didn't even do it.
So DeForest Johnson is the one. He's still in prison.
But she said he wasn't the one that did it.
Wow. Next time, the overlooked clues and lost leads. We investigate the investigation into Deputy Hardy's murder and what detectives miss while they fixate on Yolanda. Earwitness is a production of Lava for Good Podcasts in association with Signal Company No. 1. Executive producers are Jason Flom, Jeff Kempler, Kevin Wardis, and me, Beth Shelburne. The investigative reporting for this series was done by me and Mara McNamara. Producers are Mara McNamara, Hannah Beal, and Jackie Pauley. Kara Kornhaber is our senior producer. Britt Spangler is our sound designer. Additional story editing from Marie Sutton. Fact-check help from Catherine Newhan. Special thanks to Gracelyn Presswood for playing the part of Yolanda Chambers, Brett Knight for playing Judge Alfred Bayhackle, and attorney Richard Jaffe for playing himself in the courtroom scene of this episode. And special thanks to DeForest Johnson's legal defense team. You can follow the show on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and Twitter at Lava for Good. To see behind-the-scenes content from our investigation, visit lavaforgood.com/earwitness.